You are now listening to the D. Hankins Show. Life, curveballs, home runs, the D. Hankins Show. Are you ready? Let's go.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the D. Hankins Show, where we talk about life, help you with your curveballs, and celebrate your home runs. Now, we often talk about racism, sexism, and hate as political issues. As a matter of fact, we deal them as social issues. But if we peel back the layers, we can see that it's much deeper than that. Oftentimes than not, those are signs of spiritual brokenness. When someone attacks you based on your race, your gender, your ethnicity, where you're from, so on and so forth, they're trying to break your spirit. They're trying to crush your identity. They're trying to make you feel less than. But more oftentimes than not, it is just a projection from their own spiritual brokenness. Today, we're talking about how to protect your spiritual resilience in a world full of goalpost movers and spiritual hypocrites. This is episode 21, The Gatekeeper, connecting mental resilience to spiritual resilience. Let's get into it. We're bringing this mini series of mental resilience home. We've connected the mind to the body. We've connected the mind to the wallet. And now it's time to connect the mind to the spirit. Spiritual resilience is your identity. It's you. It's that deep knowing that you are worthy, that you are loved, that you belong, that you have purpose. It's everything that you're made of. It's your personality. It's your goals in life. It's your love language. It's the essence of who you are as a human being. It is a deep reflection and a clear reflection of what the Creator, what God has given to you and what He wants for you while you're here. It's a picture of why you were chosen to be here. So your spiritual resilience is at the top of that core four because it is so important that you understand who you are and who you are, not only who you are, but who you came from and what this body can do while your spirit is in this shell, what your body, your mind, your body, your physical, financial, all of your core four can do when it is spiritually sound and how it can help serve other people that may be spiritually broken or may not really understand what their purpose are. And that's why your spiritual resilience is so important. It is literally a treasure. But here's the thing. There are thieves out there that come to steal, kill, and destroy. They want that spiritual resilience because they know without it, you miss the ultimate goal, which is where you go after you die. After you leave this earth, what destination are you headed to? And there's an enemy that knows this playbook through and through, and they know if they can rob your spiritual resilience, you're automatically drafted into the losing team. But when you're spiritually strong, when you're spiritually, we talked about this in the other episode, when you're spiritually sound, there's a peace that comes over you. And the thieves want to rob that peace. The world wants to rob that peace. So they tell you you're too dark. They tell you you don't belong. It tells you you're too emotional because you're a woman. It tells you you're illegal. It tells you you're a criminal. It tells you all this stuff that is not necessarily true. And this is where your mental resilience comes in. If your spiritual resilience is the treasure, your mental resilience is the gatekeeper. Its job is to make sure that peace is protected. It's to make sure that treasure is protected. So it's checking IDs at the door. And like we said before, if the mind is weak, it's easy to let everyone in. We allow hate to walk in. We allow doubt to walk in. We allow fear to walk in. And then your spirit gets robbed and your spirit gets sick and your spirit gets poisoned. So let's get real. We need to stop calling racism bad behavior, and we need to call it out for what it is, and that's spiritual brokenness. When the mind, the gatekeeper, is broken, it allows lies and poison to seep into your spirit. And the scary part is your mind will trick you into thinking that you're actually righteous when you're rotting from the inside out. There's a quote from a man named Jake Lang that he made recently that stuck with me. And I quote, "Us Christian men are not going to stand around and let our children become nigger lovers." Now, I want you to pause on that real quick. He claims to be Christian. Christian, by definition, means follower of Christ. So he claims to be a follower of Christ, yet in the same breath, spews hate that is completely opposite of what Jesus taught. Like night and day, completely opposite. How does that happen? Right? How does that happen? Now, I'm picking on Jake because, like I said, the quote kind of stuck with me, but this is historic. Many actually, matter of fact, there was an interview recently, and I don't know his name, but he's a pastor, but also the leader of the KKK, who believes that black men and women cannot get into heaven. They're not considered God's people. He believes that. He believes that. Now, this is why we call it a sickness, right? Is because he believes that. He's passed this on to his followers, the people that follow him. Jake Lang, I believe, has a pretty big following that believes the exact same thing, right? This white Christian men aren't going to stand and let our children become, N-word lovers. And there are groups of people that believe that. And this happens because mental resilience is shattered, okay? Remember, mental resilience is the foundation that holds everything else up, okay? If your mental resilience is gone, one of these other three are decimated, are completely gone. So in this case, mental resilience is shattered. Therefore, spiritual resilience is shattered. Now, I want you to really think about this, okay? Mental resilience, why is it broken? Because his mind is seeking confirmation biased, all right? So all racists, sexists, genderists, whatever you want to call, all the isms, right? All the ists, all the isms, they look for things that confirm what their mind is telling them. They ignore facts, they ignore signs, they ignore biology, they ignore science, they ignore truth, anything that goes against what their brokenness has told them is not true in their eyes. And in the realm of Christianity, you have to ignore every single scripture that points to the opposite of what you're saying. And trust me, there are tons of parables, there are tons of scriptures that talk about love your brother. Okay, so when you're mentally broken and you're spiritually broken, you have to convince yourself that this person is my enemy, even though the Bible says, right? There's a story about the Good Samaritan. Okay, you have to skip over that. Anybody who has hate in their heart cannot enter the kingdom of God. You have to skip over that. You have to say, well, not me. Not me. I mean, I don't have hate in my heart. I just hate these people, and these people aren't really people, so I don't really hate them. You see how that works? I've always thought about this, and I really wanted to ask like a real, diehard racist this question. Like, when you die and you get to heaven, okay, and you realize that all people are going to be let in, do you get to the pearly gates and you go, hey, thank you so much, but can you put me next to the whites? Can you not put me next to the blacks in heaven? Like, how is that going to work? You see how jacked up that is, right? Your mental resilience is broken. And therefore, your spiritual resilience is broken. They have to filter out all the truth to help them protect the lie. That is not a sign of strength. That is a sign that the gatekeeper is asleep. And all of this hate and dishonesty and falsehood and lies are just coming in and poisoning his spirit. That's a sign of a spiritually broken man. Let's look at the Bible Belt. Did you know that the highest level of consumption of pornography and internet searches for not only adult pornography, but child pornography is in the states that are deemed most conservative and most religious? Think about the disconnect here. On Sunday, the spirit says, holy, holy, holy. But on Saturday, the mind says hidden. The mind says incognito mode. That is a fractured gatekeeper. The mind is compartmentalizing. It's saying, I can be this person in public and I can be this person in private. You cannot be spiritually healthy if your mind is living a double life. And you know where that is? In the Bible. You can't serve two masters. And a sign of spiritual brokenness is serving two masters. And this is what I mean, okay? So these states, or the people in these states, will spew out the most racist, hateful things. And then if you click their profile or whatever the case may be, it's Jesus is King, Jesus is Lord. And this is how we know. And people are starting to get wind of this, right? People are starting to see this for themselves. I'm starting to see this for myself. Now, I never talk about perfection, okay? Perfection is not for us. It's progress. It's always progress. God knows I've had my fair share of viewership. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to hesitate. And I'm not going to do the I am more perfect than thou. What I'm saying, though, is as you grow, you start to understand, as I've grown, as I've done this research, as I've started to live by this core four and this three bucket philosophy, I've understood that hypocrisy is a choice. Hypocrisy is not something that happens to you. Hypocrisy is not something that is out of your control. Hypocrisy is a choice, and you choose to be a hypocrite, whether you believe it or not. And so for me, it's just like, no, don't get me wrong. You're going to find some, and I say this all the time, you're going to find some dirt on my hands. You're going to find some skeletons in my closet. However, I cannot find myself to look at somebody and constantly berate them and put them down and tell them they are less than and tell them they're not wanted, when in all actuality, I am doing the exact same thing that they are doing. That is sickening. That is a spiritual brokenness. Now, if you go back in time when I was 15, 18, 21, sure, I may have said some things. I may have criticized some people, so on and so forth. But you learn that that is a my choice thing, and you decide to do things better. But what is happening today is people don't want to be better. People are standing their ground and saying, this is the way it is, right? I can preach Jesus. I can preach Christianity. I can say that God is, the ruler of my heart, so on and so forth. But yet I'll call people the N-word. I'll say, we're at war with black and brown people, and they don't belong here, and they're this and that. And that's just opposite of what you've been taught, unless you're being taught and fed what you believe. And so therefore, a lot of those states, a lot of those conservative states, just a lot of people in general, I just don't want to pinpoint on them, but a lot of people in general are spiritually broken. And what I'm trying to show you is the signs. And the reason why I'm trying to show you the signs is because we have to stop taking it personal. We have to stop taking it as an attack against us. It's just like if you saw a young child with autism or Tourette's or some type of mental illness say something outlandish, right? Or do something outlandish, scream in the middle of a restaurant. If you can visibly see that there's a mental issue or a developmental delay, you're not going to feel offended, right? You're just going to say, hey, you know what? They don't know better. Okay. And I started to look at racism the same way. If you're, especially in 2026, if you're still racist, there's something wrong with you. And that's how we have to put it down there. I know we're getting more what they call fatigue, right? I think everybody's getting fatigued, right? But the more you think about it, the more you just go, oh, they're spiritually broken. If you think about it that way, all right? And it's like walking with your kid, and somebody's like spits out racial stuff, and you just go, oh yeah, see, that's a spiritual broken one. And you just call it a day. And I've been talked about a lot, especially on social media, and you can't read, and you're a criminal, and blah, blah, this and that. And it's just like, they don't know anything. They don't know the groups that I'm around. They don't know anything about, like, I'm college educated. I have a degree. I have all these things. I'm in circles. I'm in places where there are highly successful Black and brown individuals. Dr. Sanchez, Dr. Sheila Brown, they're highly successful people. Yet, in order to keep their confirmation bias, in order to keep the lie going, they can only focus on a small group of people and say, see. They can only wait until somebody does something wrong to go, see. So all of these racist hate pages that just focus on Black students fighting, brown students fighting, brown students getting arrested, yada, yada. If you look at who they follow and what pages they follow, it's all the same thing. They're just recycling old information, right? Let's say you have 1,000 Black and brown students graduating high school and going to Ivy League school. They won't focus on that because that doesn't confirm their bias. That doesn't confirm their lie. What they'll focus on is let's say the 100 Black students that didn't graduate, right? They'll see, like someone look, told you, they're dumb. They don't graduate school. And that's how you know that I'm ignoring all of this. I won't celebrate any of this because I guarantee you, if you started to look at the good versus the bad, your whole thing will change. This is why we're getting rid of American history, slavery. This is why we're getting rid of it, because if it's not there, it doesn't go against your bias. And this is a spiritually broken country. Therefore, you're going to do spiritually broken things. And the number one thing spiritually broken people do is tunnel vision. Right? Nope, I got to look this way. I'm not going to look that way. Nope, it doesn't exist. So slavery, nope, doesn't happen, right? Redlining, Jim Crow, doesn't happen. Exonerations, right? They talk about the high arrest rate, but they don't talk about the 60% exoneration rate, which meaning that, a lot of Black and brown people are let go for crimes they haven't committed. They are falsely accused. That doesn't matter. Only that they're arrested at this rate, okay? So that's a sign of spiritual brokenness, and we have to start treating it as such. As you know, my passion is to help people build resilience, and it's a journey I've been on my entire life. That's why I created the D. Hankins At Best Student Development Program. I started the program because I once was a student facing major curveballs, and I want to show students that they have a chance at a successful future, no matter their background. We empower students with a 6-step framework called Win Your Challenges, and we build a network of support between students and parents and caring adults in their lives. If you're a parent, educator, or administrator and want to learn more about how we build bridges and transform school communities, I invite you to visit my website, dhankins.com. That's DEEHANKINS.com to learn more about how you can bring the At Best program to your school. So I want to give one more example about the hypocrisy that is so deep down. And for this one, I want to talk about the women that threw themselves at Ted Bundy. If you don't know, Ted Bundy was a serial rapist, a pedophile, and a serial killer. He violated women in the most heinous of ways. And yet, during his trial, the courtroom was packed with women that were trying to marry him. He received love letters. Women practically threw themselves at him. A serial killer, someone who killed women and children. And here's the irony. Many of those women would scream the death penalty for anybody who would do those things of a different color, of a different race. Actually, you think of the climate of the country right now. What is the government trying to do? They're trying to get rid of felons, rapists, pedophiles, criminals, right? People have been accused of criminals. That's what they're trying to get rid of. And these women, oh, death penalty, get them out here, yada, yada. But when it came to somebody that looked like them, a monster with a nice smile, they wanted a wedding ring. Spiritual brokenness. When your mental resilience is low, you will judge the world harshly, but invite the devil right into your front door because he flattered you, because he confirmed your bias. And we've seen this spiritual hypocrisy play out in our culture right now. We see it with what we call goalpost movers. So I'll give you an example that we're all kind of familiar with, okay? You remember George Floyd? He was murdered. And the first thing that people did was they dug into his records. They pulled his file. Oh, he was a felon. He had a past. He had multiple run-in with law enforcement, right? They used his criminal record to justify his death. They said, if you break the law, you face the consequences. But then you look at Donald Trump. Here is a man convicted of felonies and found liable of sexual abuse. And those same people, the one that said George Floyd's record made him unworthy of life, are screaming, witch hunt, free him. He's our guy. The Ted Bundy effect. And now he's the president of the United States and we love him. That's the man right there. He's a God-fearing man. A lot of these conservatives say, a lot of these people say, right? Now, I'm a firm believer that no one comes to power without God allowing it to. Okay? Whether it's good or bad. So I'm not going to talk ill about the president of the United States. He is the acting president. Therefore, he will be respected as such. What I am stating is facts. You had Ted Bundy, who was a serial killer. He was a pedophile, and he was a rapist. Yet, women threw themselves at him. Despite all that, he was okay. He was good. They wanted to marry him, love letters. In today's culture, we're trying to get rid of immigrants. We're actually killing them. Immigrants who are rapists, pedophiles, serial killers, right? You had George Floyd because he deserved to die, or his life was unworthy because he had a past, because he had felons. Yet when it comes to the president of the United States, he has a past. He is liable for sexual abuse. He has felonies. That doesn't matter. Those are called goalpost movers. Goalpost movers act like this. When it's them, the law is the law. When it's us, the law is a suggestion. That isn't politics, y'all. That is spiritual sickness. That is a mind that has decided to twist reality to protect its own fragile identity. So why does this matter to you? Because you cannot let these people define your worth. If you listen to a goalpost mover, you'll never be good enough. You'll never be right enough. You'll never belong enough. Your mental resilience has to look at the hypocrisy and say, I see you. You aren't judging me because I'm bad. You're judging me because you're broken. So, this is my challenge for y'all this week, and it's a serious challenge. I want you to do an identity audit. Think about the negative things that you say about yourself. You know, I'm not enough. I'm too dark. I don't belong. And, you know, I'm whatever the case may be. And then ask yourself, where did this come from? Did this come from my spirit? Did this come from my creator? Or did this come from some spiritually broken hypocrite? And if it came from a broken place, do a mental return to sender. Kick it out the gate because it doesn't belong in your treasury. Protect your spiritual treasure. Remember, you're dealing with a spiritual battle. It's not political. It's not red and white and left and right. And this is how you know right off the bat a spiritually broken person is when they start to identify with your political party, when they start sentences with those Dems or that left or that right or whatever the case may be. Your brain, that is a sign that your brain is compartmentalizing things, and you can't do both. And that's it for episode 21. And we have wrapped up this 21 episode mini-series of the Core 4. We connected the mind to the body, to the wallet. We connected the mind to the spirit. We taught you how to be more spiritually resilient and spiritually present, more financially sound, financially present. We taught you how to be more physically sound and more physically present. And now we talked about how to put that all together and how it all starts. It's all held together in the mind. And my hope for you is that you stop seeing these as a separate list of chores and start seeing it as one resilient life. If this episode hit home, especially if it made you uncomfortable, good. That means that we're growing. I want you to share it with somebody. If you have comments, maybe I pissed you off a little bit, leave those comments, right? I want to hear from you because I want to challenge you, and I want you to challenge me. And ultimately, I want us to challenge each other because that's how we grow. That's how we get back to being more human. So share it with somebody who needs it. I appreciate y'all listening. I love this community that we have built, and I can't wait for the next upcoming weeks where we dive into the 3-bucket philosophy. Until then, remember, life throws curveballs, but even curveballs can be hit for home runs.